All right, welcome everybody. So good to be here. We are on our session number 5 for the year, which is awesome. We're moving into, gee, guys, it's almost going to be a half a year under our belt next month. Things are just going so very, very fast. And I know I wanted to share a little bit with you guys about my journey since my crash and burn of 2021. I had discovered, and it wasn't that I felt like I had a negative attitude, but it was 2020. There was so much negativity coming out. Everybody was living in fear. The newscasters were talking about COVID. The medical field was talking about COVID. Every place you look, there was all this stuff going on about, you got to be careful, you got to do this, you got to do that. And the thing that I discovered was that there's so much fear being projected out into the world, typically through media. It's always been that way. It's gotten worse, though, I think, with media as the world progresses into the 21st century. But it was even worse during the COVID period of time. And I discovered that it does not feel good to live in a negative environment. So I started taking positive action on disconnecting myself from, number one, the news media. Number two, negative people that tend to constantly criticize or judge what I'm doing, who I am, even other people around them. Even with being on social media, I know that you guys had experienced oftentimes when you'd be maybe in a Facebook group or whatever, that was supposed to be a group where it was supposed to be supporting each other. And all they were doing was whining and crying and complaining and moaning and groaning about everything going on in their life instead of, well, what can we do about it? What should we be doing instead? So today, our message is going to be positivity versus negativity. And I'm hoping that after today's session that you maybe will get a little bit of insight into the fact that there is a lot of negativity that is affecting you that you can do something about. Or I'm hoping that you'll be celebrating that you have that strong awareness of negativity in your environment and around you, that you have learned how to handle, and maybe even get a few new tools tonight that will help you to continue to do that. So, when we talk about a positivity meter, there's many ways that you can measure positivity. And there's 4 of them here that I'm just going to give a brief introduction to. And one of them is the positivity ratio, which was developed by Barbara Fredrickson. And the positivity ratio measures the balance between positive and negative emotions or positive and negative thoughts in a person's life. That ratio is calculated by dividing the number of positive emotions or thoughts by the number of negative emotions or thoughts. And as a bonus for you all, I do have a positivity, negativity survey that I will, when you get the replay of this recording, you will get 3 documents. Well, you get 2 documents for sure. One of them is a survey that you can take about positivity and negativity so that you can sit down and actually see what it is that is affecting you on a negative scale. And then because of tonight's call, what you should be able to do about those things. And the second one is subjective happiness scale. And that scale measures the person's subjective feeling of well-being, including how satisfied they are with their life, how happy they generally feel, and how frequently they experience positive emotions. So if you've been in a place like I have been in the past 2 years, I have purposefully been making an active action of paying attention to happiness, because happiness is a choice. And there are days when I maybe don't feel so happy, but I make that personal choice to be happy. And a lot of times it's just make that choice, just be happy. And the best way to be happy is to just choose to be happy. Put a smile on your face, dance around, or just start laughing. Just start making yourself laugh. And oftentimes you may find that when you start laughing, you can't quit. Maybe funny things will start coming up, but that emotion just feels so good and you enjoy it so much that you just keep doing it. And then the third one is positive and negative affect scale. And that's a scale that measures both positive and negative emotions that a person experiences over a specific period of time. Say, for example, the past week or month. And participants rate themselves on a range of emotions, which include joy, fear, anger, and excitement. And that's the survey that I'm going to send to you guys, so you guys can try to do that on your own and just kind of get an idea about where you're at with that. And then number 4 is satisfaction with a life scale. This scale assesses how satisfied a person is with their life overall. And participants can rate how much they agree or disagree with statements that are relating to their life satisfaction, such as, in most ways, my life is close to my ideal. And the measurement tools are used for research purposes. And I thought it was very interesting that someone has realized and recognized how positivity and negativity has affected people and has chosen to do a study on that. So this survey that I'm going to be sending to you is going to be a list of 10 positive and 10 negative effects. And you would just rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, which means number 5 is extremely. Do you feel extremely interested all the time? Or have you felt, what was your, on the scale of 1 to 5, how were you feeling as far as being interested? And maybe do it for the week. Maybe even when you get this, just do it for the day, just to get started on practicing paying attention and connecting, and then the other 10 things, but we'll be going over some of those during this presentation. So is there any questions so far? Anyone have any questions if they want to raise their hand or just mute themselves and ask a question? Anybody? If not, I will go ahead and bring up the slides. Nobody? Okay. All right. And I know Sharon's not going to be here tonight because she's been quite busy. Okay. All right. So you should be able to see my screen. It's rate your positive attitude. I'm going to put myself off camera and I'm going to move that out of the way and we will show the slideshow. So welcome to the Rate Your Positive Attitude presentation. And Philippians 4:8 talks about think upon such things. So if you are interested in learning about scripture and things that can help you with your life and bringing more positivity into your life, I always recommend searching God's word because it is the place that has all the answers for everything that we struggle with in our lives today. And I just did that brief overview of the 4 ways that positivity and negativity are being measured. So just drop a me in the chat if you've ever caught yourself speaking or thinking positive thoughts. And I kind of sort of have a feeling, sneaky feeling that most of you have. There are 10 positive effects. And one of them is active. So when you're talking about catching yourself speaking or thinking positive thoughts, we also have to remind ourselves about the emotions. So active is a positive effect. Are you feeling alert? That's a positive effect. Attentive. Are you determined? If you're on a course or if you're got a path in your life that you're working through and moving through, Are you determined in it? And, that can be a very positive effect that will have on your life. Enthusiasm, being enthusiastic about your life or whatever you're doing in business. Are you excited? Do you find yourself being excited? And when we talk about these actions, these effects, we want to be cognizant of how often are we feeling? When was the last time that you were inspired? When was the last time that you showed interest? When was the last time that you felt proud? When was the last time that you felt strong in? I love that, Marcy. Marcy says, I don't know how to not be happy or positive. That's awesome. That's awesome, Marcy. I love that. So those are 10 positive effects that we will probably be kind of looking at tonight. Now I have 10. Oops, I'm trying to move my thing out of the way here. Sorry, guys. So we've got 10 emotions or 12 emotions. So we talk about up here, we were talking about the effects of positive, what that looks like. And here's some of the emotions that are connected to when we talk about positivity: love, joy, gratitude, hope, inspiration, contentment, empathy, forgiveness, creativity, amusement, satisfaction, enthusiastic or enthusiasm. Those are emotions. Now, maybe some of these emotions you've looked at and you've never really thought about them as a positive emotion. Now, forgiveness, maybe some could think of it as a negative, with the idea that if I forgive that person, they aren't worthy of forgiveness. Why should I forgive them? When in fact, the forgiveness isn't for that person, it's for yourself, because it opens up that door to good things. And it puts away the negative things that maybe caused the rift in the situation. So maybe there's a word here that you see that you didn't realize was actually a positive emotion. So now we're going to look at the negative. So drop a me in the chat if you ever caught yourself speaking or thinking negative thoughts. Nobody? Nobody's ever caught themselves thinking a negative thought? Marianne says she chooses to be happy over negativity. That's awesome. And I sure have many times. Okay. So how can we know that we live a life of positivity if we don't even recognize that there are negative things going on in our life that we maybe aren't even aware of? So here's 10 of those negative effects: being afraid, being scared, being nervous, jittery, irritable, hostile, guilty, ashamed, upset, or distressed. Have you ever decided that I want to build my online business and I want to be on camera so that I can face my audience and maybe show them the real me? But you don't do it because you don't think you look good on camera, or you think you're going to say the wrong thing, or it's really truly fear, afraid of pushing that go button, pushing that live button. Or maybe you're wanting to sit in front of an audience and teach something to them. And you know what you have is good, but you just don't feel like you've got the skill to do it. You've got the knowledge, you know what to tell them, you know how to help them. But again, Your knees start knocking, you get really nervous. Well, these are all negative effects that we often have to deal with in our everyday lives. And sometimes we allow these negative effects to hold us back in our life and in our business. Now, the emotions associated with negative effects are fear, anger, disgust, unhappy, rage, lonely, melancholy, annoyance, unworthy, being taken for granted, unheard, and invisible. How often have you felt invisible? Marianne says me. Sandra says me, but I shut it down. Okay, Sandra. So how do you shut it down? Do you just don't take action? Do you stuff it away somewhere? Or what is it that you do? If you want to come off mute, you'd be very welcome to do that.
How I try to shut it down is I usually have my motivational and devotional reading. I try to go there first. Well, I usually go there first. And then the other thing that I do is I try to use a positive self-talk, or
Okay.
self-talk rather, to help me to move away from the negativity and into a more positive frame of mind.
Okay, good. That's awesome. So you recognize when you're having a negative emotional reaction.
Yeah, for me, when I'm having a negative emotional reaction, it affects my energy level. I usually feel sluggish or tired, well, sluggish and tired, and disinterested in doing anything. So for mine, it doesn't hide from me. So it's not difficult to identify when I'm in that mood. So
Okay. Awesome. Anybody else have anything they want to share? No?
I do. When I feel myself falling into, being negative, I look at myself and say, okay, what are you going to do about this? And usually I talk myself out of it.
Good.
I'll think about something, or I'll start a new project, or I'll go outside and walk when it's nice, um, just to take my mind off of the negative things I'm thinking, because I know they tear you down, they make you tired, like Sandra said, and that's not good. Uh, you find yourself uh, just kind of stagnant, and you're not good to anybody else either. So
Exactly.
I just talk myself out of it.
That's great. So do you think of a positive thing you can replace it with?
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
find something positive. Like I said, I'll start a new project and I'll get all excited about that, and oh
Okay.
wow, and forget about being negative about whatever it was, and it's gone.
Okay.
I don't dwell on negativity. Uh, I never have. I've been a person that kind of speaks her mind if
Yeah.
something comes up, and then it's over. I don't dwell on it.
That's awesome. Anybody else? I know Mars.
Yes.
Go ahead.
What I do every morning to keep myself staying happy is every morning I wake up and I think about all the things that I'm grateful for in life. And that keeps me going every day.
Good. Yeah, that is really an incredible tool that many people forget to use. But the more you use it, the more the habit becomes, and it's the first thing that your mind will go to. And that's awesome, Marcy. That's your secret power, your superpower. That's great. So here's some things we can also learn from common self-talk messages. Those messages vary from person to person. One of them can be, I'm not good enough, or the imposter syndrome. And many women and business owners struggle with imposter syndrome. feeling like they don't belong in the space they are operating in, or that they are not good enough to succeed. And this can cause them to hesitate in taking action or promoting themselves on social media, as they may feel like they are not worthy of the action or success they are seeking. Now, I don't know about you, but I know I have suffered from that during the beginning years of my online business and my online life, because that was a whole new avenue for me that I had not experienced before becoming an entrepreneur. So I didn't even have that opportunity to be on social media without a business, because I never did it until I had to do it because of the business. So I'm not sure about you, but the next one is, I don't have enough time. Now, who hasn't said that to themselves? It's the balancing act. And balancing the demands of running a business with other responsibilities can be challenging. Many women business owners may feel like they simply don't have enough time to devote to growing their online presence on social media. And this can lead to procrastination and avoidance of social media tasks that are necessary for business growth. Now, who has never had that problem? Drop it in your chat, because I want to shake your hand if that's the case, because I don't think there's anyone that can say they've never suffered from trying to balance everything in our life. The next one is, what if I fail? Well, what if you succeed? So many people will use that as an excuse. The fear of failure is a common self-talk pattern that can hold women business owners back from taking risks or trying new things on social media. They may worry that if they put themselves out there and fail, it will be a reflection of their worth or competence as a business owner. But when you have high regard for yourself, so oftentimes you don't suffer from what if I fail, because you know what you're capable of doing and you're willing to do what it takes to succeed. The next one is, I don't know enough. Well, who knows everything? I certainly don't. And I know most entrepreneurs come in because they know something that they want to share with the world, but maybe what holds them back is they're not sure they know enough. And many women business owners may feel like they don't have enough knowledge or expertise to effectively use social media for business growth. And this can lead to a lack of confidence in their abilities and a hesitation to take action. The next one is, no one will care. The fear of rejection. This self-talk pattern can stem from a fear of rejection or a belief that their business or content is not available enough to be noticed or appreciated on social media. And this can lead to a lack of motivation or effort in promoting themselves or their business online. So I'm just kind of curious, does anyone feel like they have been in one of these places in their lifetime, but find that they have been able to overcome it with positive actions and recognition of their personal abilities as they grow and become better at what they do? Anybody?
I'd like to share.
Okay, go
Um,
ahead.
When I was younger, I really had a very poor image of myself. I always kind of knocked myself down. And then one day, I don't know, it just came out of the blue. Why are you doing this, Marianne? You're smart. You know what you're doing. You've never feared doing anything. Why do you think you're not good enough? And I got to thinking, well, I am good enough. Maybe not in everything, but in what I do, I know that I'm doing it well. And I've always managed to go up the ladder. I'd start at the bottom and work my way up. So it's something that you have to work on. And even though I thought I wasn't good enough, there was something in me that kept saying, you can do it. And so you have to listen to that little voice that tells you you can do it. So I would say it's more maturing
Mm-hmm.
that caused me to get out of that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But I don't know how it happened. It just happened. And now, if my schoolmates would see me that I went to high school with, they would probably say, that's not Marianne. So, uh, because I have changed a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I never speak up, even if I thought I was right, I wouldn't say anything. I was
Yeah.
very bashful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, Marianne. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I think that is possibly one of the attributes that many of us have had to learn to deal with, because as entrepreneurs, you can't stay stuck in who you were and be a successful entrepreneur. It's impossible.
Yeah,
You have to be growing yourself. And that
that's right.
just proves that, that you, unfortunately, so many of our, what they call false beliefs or paradigms are things that happened to us when we were growing as children that we've carried throughout the years. And until we decide to be aware of what it is and decide to do something about it, it still affects us even now in our life. So, and that's what it sounds like. You just held up your hand and said, I need to do something about this. And then you went about taking action. And that's, I say, is probably one of the things that many of us here today have experienced as well. Does anyone else here have something they'd like to share about moving from who you were to who you are now? No? Okay. Next, we are going to look at strategies to avoid negative self-talk. And again, you could drop me in the chat if you ever caught yourself speaking or thinking negative thoughts. I know I have. And again, like I said, especially 2020 during the COVID situation, being more aware, Iris says me, of the negative that was going around in the world. Marianne says me. I think we'd have to be lying to ourselves if we didn't find ourselves having some negative thoughts. Even if we were able to take care of it immediately, there is negative around us all the time. And sometimes we have to purposefully choose to be aware of it, or sometimes it can overtake us and we don't even recognize that that's what happened. So some of the strategies will include becoming aware of the negative self-talk. And again, like I said, sometimes there is negative self-talk going on around us that we just are not aware of. And the first step to recognize and acknowledge your negative self-talk would be for you to take note of the words and the phrases you use when talking to yourself. For example, I can't. There's something that somebody's requested you to do, or maybe it's even a thought that you've had that you want to do. And the first thing that pops up in your head is, I can't. Well, that's a negative thought. Now, how do you turn that around? You can say, I can't deliver good content. You turn that around to, I can find a way to create good content. So it's very easy to just change your words, which changes the whole feeling of the statement that we're making, whether it's to ourselves or to another person. Reframing your thoughts. Once you've identified your negative self-talk, like I just talked about, try to reframe your thoughts into a positive or even maybe a neutral way. For example, if you find yourself thinking, I'm never going to be able to do this. Try changing it to, I'm struggling right now, but I can work on improving. Or I'm struggling right now. I can research the subject matter and see if I can't come up with something. Number 3, or the next one, practice self-compassion. Be kind and understanding to yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness and compassion you would offer a friend. Acknowledge that it's okay to make mistakes and that everyone has flaws. Next, challenge your thoughts. Yes, challenge yourself, just like you might challenge a child that you're raising. Challenge yourself. Ask yourself if your negative thoughts are realistic or if you're exaggerating the situation. Look for evidence that contradicts your negative thoughts and focus on the positives. Next, practice mindfulness. Mindfulness can help you become more aware of your thoughts and emotions. It can also help you to stay in the present moment and reduce the impact of negative self-talk. Last and next, surround yourself with positivity. Because surrounding yourself with positive people and things that make you feel good about yourself will help others to feel good about you as well. And this can help counteract the negative self-talk and improve your overall mood. And finally, be patient with yourself and others because overcoming negative self-talk takes time and effort. So you have to be patient with yourself and keep practicing these strategies. And if you find it challenging to overcome negative self-talk on your own, consider talking to a mental health professional who can help you develop additional coping strategies if it's a serious problem in your life. So, in conclusion, what's next? So I have put together a survey that you can take on a regular basis so you can purposefully be aware of your positivity meter and focus on adjusting as you go. It will be in the email of the replay of today's session. And the negative life is not fruitful. Awareness of when we need to improve to positivity helps us grow into happy, productive people. And I also believe that it helps us to help others that we're connected to develop a positive attitude when we're connected with them that they can carry on throughout their life. So I want to thank you so much. I hope you've been inspired to study your thought patterns and look forward to hearing about your success stories in the future. Now, I'm just going to briefly show you, this is the survey that you will have access to that you will be able to take, and it's got an instruction here. So if you're curious about how positive or negative you are daily, you can take this survey. And it's just a matter of going through these words and asking yourself, how interested was I today on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 being like you're looking at 100%. So 10% of my day I was interested, 20% of my day I was interested, or 30% or 40% or 50%. If that helps you to think about a scale of 1 to 10, like 100% would be 5 and 10% would be a 1. And then so on with excited. I was alert. I was enthusiastic. I was inspired. I was determined, attentive. I was proud. I was active. I was strong. And then on the negative side, how were you this week or today on the scale of being afraid? Or were you ashamed at any point? Were you distressed? Were you nervous? Were you hostile? Were you irritable? Were you jittery? Were you scared? Were you upset? Or were you feeling guilty? And then what you would do is you would add up whatever your scores are, and you would have a total at the bottom of, let's say you did a 5 on all of them. So of course that's going to be 50. 50% of the time I was in a negative, 50% of the time I was in positive. So you're good. It's like 1-to-1. But I would hope that nobody is ever on a 50, 500 on a scale of negative. I would hope that it would be more like 100 to 400 or 100 to 500 on the positivity side. So I hope that's helpful. And then I also have scriptures for those of you that are loving to learn and understand how God's word also can be very effective in how we choose to live our life or how we choose to run our business. I have scriptures that are associated with living a life of a positive outlook on your life that I would be happy to share with you if you want it. You just have to let me know and I can send it out in the email. And then also there is scripture that helps with overcoming negative self-talk that maybe you would find helpful during your morning devotions if you are struggling to just have that document to just look at it and go ahead and maybe find a scripture that would be comforting and helpful. So I hope this has been helpful for everyone and would love to hear your input, your actions, your aha moments maybe of something that I talked about that just kind of resonated with you, or yeah, I never thought about that before, or yes, you just confirmed something for me on working with negative thoughts, negative emotions, and positive emotions. Anybody?
Well, I feel that it was helpful. It was a reinforcement for me.
Good.
And like I said before, I'm not a real negative person. I try to keep up, but there's times when you get hit and you're falling down, and the scriptures that you shared are some of my favorite scriptures. And I tell myself those scriptures when I am in a state that I don't want to be in. And so, in fact, this morning, every Tuesday, I meet with my church friends from Ukaipa, where I used to go to church. And we were talking about some things going on in their church. And I said, well, we're all fighters.